What's up, guys? We're at the expo here. GAF 2020, HDZ, wind proven. G&D construction is going crazy this year. What you think? What you think, Johnny?
Awesome.
You going crazy this year?
Oh yeah.
Gonna make some more money? Boom,
Yes,
boom.
sir.
Let's go. Let's go.
It's actually better, and the weather worked out for us to be here today. So I think it's better that we're indoors today, and I appreciate it. This is your time. This is your time with us. We do appreciate you making the investment. We know that we don't charge for this, and we don't think we should charge for this because this is your time. We want you to feel good about being here. We want you to learn some stuff, interact with us throughout the day. If you need anything from one of my team or myself, please track us down in the hallway. But this is your time to learn what we're doing because we are evolving. We're changing the industry. Like Alan brought out just a few minutes ago, things are changing in front of us all the time. And if we don't change and if we don't adapt and evolve, your businesses, if you don't adapt and evolve, we're going to all be left behind. I mean, the roofing industry as an asphaltic product that, crazy enough, it was invented 100 plus years ago, but the product that most of you are using, the laminate shingle, not sure if you know, 2 companies invented the laminate shingle. I don't have a gift card, I just have a little foam ball. So, does anybody know the year the laminate shingle was invented? Early 1900s? Close to 70. So 1968, 2 companies fought to come out with a product. Elk Roofing and GAF Roofing created what's called the laminate shingle. And it was the Timberline and the Elk Prestige. I think at that point it might have been the Elk Prestige 25 year or whatever it was called. But that was 1968. 2 years ago? 52 years now. That product, after we acquired Elk in 2007, that product was very similar for 50 years. Now, there was advancements in adhesive.
It's okay to give them a referral credit if they send you someone else, as long as you're under contract. To be clear, inducements can only happen before you're in contract. Once you're under contract, you can do whatever you want. Now, I know what some of you heard, that, well, as soon as I'm under contract, I'll just refund their deductible. No, still illegal. Still can't do that. You can, however, provide your customer something of value as long as you're under contract. Let's talk about O&P. By way of just shouting it out, when is O&P due on a claim? I will accept every time. I will accept no time. Anybody else?
Every single time it's rightfully supposed to be there.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. When is it rightfully supposed to be there?
Oh, rightfully,
Overhead and profit.
You pay overhead and profit.
Agreed. Any other answers from the insurance game? What have you heard?
When you bring in 3 trades?
3 trades.
Yeah.
Interior and exterior.
3 trades if it's complex enough.
If it's complex. If the insurance company feels like it, I will accept that answer. I will also accept that everything about the roof, even though that is the one I cannot understand. Yeah. Just to be clear, and just for my information, because I'm not a contractor, I don't know all the rules. You guys still have to supervise and oversee it, and what O&P is born out of the policy. Most policies say something like this. The insurance company will pay the reasonable costs to repair damaged material with like kind quality materials. Whether O&P is a reasonable cost answers whether you get it. So for instance, on a 1-trade job, if it's just gutter damage, there's a pretty good argument that a homeowner would just hire a gutter installer and they wouldn't need a general contractor. Probably. So they wouldn't incur the cost of a general contractor. Now, no court in Illinois has ever answered this question, but lots of courts across the country have. And most of them say the same thing. If it's reasonably likely that a homeowner would have to hire a general, then they're entitled to collect their O&P. So for those of you in this room who are generals, what have your customers already done? They've already hired one. We don't even need to engage in the analysis. If it would be a reasonable thing for them to do. They've already done it. Onward and upward, we're moving on. That means O&P should be on that claim. Now, grant you, I'm just talking about what the law says. I realize that in the field that's not always the case. And do you know why that is?
Because insurance companies are above the law.
Well, they are above the law, but the real answer is because too many of you have given up on it. You have telegraphed to the insurance company that that's not a real thing, that that's gravy on top of the mashed potatoes they're already giving you. You got to stop doing that you got to push harder or you're going to lose it. Because guess what? The difference between what's reasonable and what's not is what the average person in the marketplace does. If too many of you give up on O&P, that means it's no longer an ordinary and reasonable cost that people can expect to incur. If more than half of you aren't doing it, it's gone. It's no longer a reasonable cost because that's not what the average person in the marketplace is getting. Have no fear. Good folks at Xactimate will help you out in this respect. For those of you who use it, I realize that it's the devil, but it's the devil that we know. And it's, in this respect, very, very useful. The white pages of Xactimate spell out definitions, glossaries, and terms so you know what things are. The unit prices in Xactimate don't include general contractors' overhead and profit. Xactimate's words, not mine. Now, they do include a little bit of overhead and profit, but who is that for? Yeah, it's for the sub. If it's R&R 10 square shingles for $100, presumably some of that money is for the subs to make profit too. But it does not include general contractors O&P, which will still be applied to the unit price. Xactimate even tells you the damn number. It's 10 and 10. I think the number is higher than that, but I think most of us in this room would be happy if we always got 10 and 10. It is proprietary information. In addition, it's stupid. In addition, it's illegal. They don't have the rights to that information. Their policy is with the homeowner. Their policy says we will pay the costs that you incur. That is one contract. The cost that the homeowner incurs is the other contract between you and the homeowner. What is the cost incurred by the homeowner?
The invoice.
Exactly. It is your invoice. There are no documents in between that. They are not entitled to your costs incurred. Those are irrelevant. It doesn't matter if you had a bundle of shingles sitting in the warehouse that you didn't have to pay for this time. It's not like the customer pays you 10 and 10 on top of the zero that cost you. That's ridiculous. Here's a good example that you can use with your adjusters to describe how stupid that idea is. Yeah, go ahead.
The Illinois guidelines for the remodeling tax, can the customer request their subcontractor waivers of liens?
Yeah, they can request proof that you paid your subcontractor.
But on the waiver of liens, you have the payment information of what you paid your subcontractor.
Yeah, that's true. How many times have you had a homeowner ask you for that?
A few,
Okay. Less than 1%?
probably more than 1%.
Yeah. So you are right. Under that context, they get it. But under the context that my insurance company wants it, they don't get it. There's no lawful way to get it in that. But that's a nice workaround. Don't tell the insurance companies.
Can you repeat that?
He said that in the lien waiver provisions of the Homeowner Repair Act, the customers can require proof that you paid your subs, which includes the cost that you paid them. That's true. Good workaround for the insurance companies. Luckily, they're not that bright. But here's why. Yeah, go ahead.
Another thing I've noticed is the insurance companies just say, well, we'll give you some more labor hours instead of overhead.
Yeah, and you know what? He said he noticed that sometimes insurance companies will give you more labor hours instead of O&P. Guess what? You were in business to make profit. If at the end of the day, you disagree on 300 line items, but there's still enough profit to do the job, guess what you do if you're a good business person? You do the damn job. The reason we're talking about O&P is when there's not enough money in the job. So, the example of why you should never give your subcontractor or supplier's invoices, besides the fact that it's illegal, is let's say there's two contractors, contractor A, contractor B. They're going to install one window. Xactimate says that it's $10 to install that window. So what do we know? The homeowner gets $10 plus O&P at the higher general, right? Because that's what the marketplace bears, according to Xactimate. Contractor A is a big company, good supplier and sub relationships. They land that window for $4, meaning what? They make $6 in profit plus their O&P. Good day for them. Contractor B, small guy chucking a truck, can only land that window for $8. Their costs are much higher. They don't have those deals. That guy still makes a profit, $2 plus his O&P, through the same form. That form has no reference to cosmetic or functional at all. The reference is direct physical loss, meaning that if a single granule of shingle is flaked off, although we understand in a common sense term that that might be cosmetic, the policy still pays for it. That's direct physical loss. Unless the policy has a specific exclusion, these arguments are BS. There is no such thing as cosmetic or functional damage, period, under a regular replacement cost policy. Only if the customer has a specific exclusion does this apply. Now, the reason that's important is because there's a huge movement in the insurance world right now to adding these exclusions to define what's the difference between cosmetic and functional damage. Basically, your definition was right. If it doesn't perform its intended function, the way that insurance companies interpret that is pretty much any hail damage that isn't a hole doesn't count. So that means the shingles would never be covered, metals will never be covered. The only thing that maybe would be covered is vinyl siding, which sometimes would function by hail. Because then at least we've broken the envelope at that point. These are really dangerous. If you have these in your own policy, go home and check. Almost every company who sells these sells a way to back out of it so you can get that coverage back. They almost allow everybody to get that back. People just don't know they have it because they don't look at their renewal paperwork. So you're going to have to get really good at arguing the difference between cosmetic and functional. So let's use their own definition against them. The definition is, doesn't perform its intended function. The most often you're going to see this is on window sashes, valley metals, and turtle vents. That's where this comes into play the most frequently. So let's use valley metals because that's an easy example. First of all, before we get into how to get over it, let's understand something about insurance law. Who bears the burden to prove that a covered loss has occurred under a policy? Whose burden is that to carry?
The insurance company.
Wrong. It's the insured. The insured doesn't have a claim until they've proven a covered loss has occurred. That's pretty easy. That burden is very slight. The insured only has to prove that a covered loss happened. Yeah, there was hail yesterday. Here's the NOAA report. Here's a weather report. There's damage on my roof. That's it. Their burden is slight. Now, whose burden is it to prove then that damage is excluded?
Insurance company.
Yeah, that's the insurance company. So, when the insurance company says, hey, we don't pay for that damage because it's cosmetic, what should your answer or your question be to them?
Isn't the function of this piece of metal to be cosmetic?
Even simpler.
Why?
Even simpler.
Why?
I'm tricking you. Yeah, why? How? How do you know? Intended function of the valley metal?
Waterproof,
Yeah, waterproofing is the one that everybody knows. What did you say?
aesthetics.
Yeah, to look good, right? For those of you again who have purchased valley metals, you would agree with me that they don't just sell it in one color and design. Another one of its functions, its intended function, is aesthetics. If it doesn't look as good, it no longer performs that function. You're going to have to get really good at arguing about these things, guys, because these exclusions, you're going to see them probably in more than half the policies that you pick up. For the people you can reach, tell them to buy out of these things. For the people you can't, get good at arguing about these things. Yeah, go ahead.
Is there any argument to, like kind and quality? That's not how it's purchased. They always talk about like kind and quality.
Well, you don't get to like kind and quality because under their proposition, there isn't covered damage. And if there's not covered damage, the obligation to repair with like kind and quality is never triggered. That's why you never get there when they're making the argument that that's not damage.
My argument too on this cosmetic issue is always the function of the siding or the roof is not just to shed water. The function is to beautify and maintain the value of the home.
Yeah, and you're right. And here's a good example for the adjusters who don't believe that that's a thing. Now, let's say that one of those magic hailstorms happened that you always read about in those reports where the hail obliterated the property next door but just stopped. Just stopped before it got to your property. Every other house in the neighborhood is damaged, but there's that one magical house that had a fucking force field from hail.
An Allstate house.
You know what house I'm talking about, right? And that's always the one that you're working on?
It's always the Allstate house.
So let's pretend that this Star Trek level force field around the house is a possibility. And we're dealing with this magical no-hail house. If it's in a neighborhood where all of the houses are crushed by hail, and it's the same developer, it's the same people, if one of the houses has a bunch of metals and a bunch of siding and a bunch of roofing that's clearly been obliterated by hail, but it wasn't functional, it didn't change the function of those components, and you're a buyer in that neighborhood, do you buy the magic house or do you buy one of the houses that looks like it went through a war zone? No question, you buy the magic house. Why? Because a part of those components' purpose is to beautify or elevate the presence and the aesthetics of the house. If hail is visible, it has damaged the intended function of every single exterior component. You're good at making these arguments because you're going to be making them all the time. Moving on to matching. Big case this year, anybody read it? Windwidge of Naperville versus Philadelphia.
Yep.
I don't want to brag, but they cited my case when they came to this decision. No big deal. One of those, I think Florida does, Oregon does. There's a few states that actually have laws on the books that say you have to pay for matching. I think that's what a matching state is. You're right, Illinois isn't one of those. But Illinois is now a class of different states, where the case law says that if you offer like kind of quality coverage, which by the way every policy does, that means matching. You ready? You guys are going to be wrapping a lot of buildings when you used to do one side.
That apply to roofing also? I mean, a lot of partial.
Matching?
Yeah.
This case was about siding.
I get it.
This case is not limited to siding.
Gotcha.
Matching is a much broader concept. You will want to start using the language from this case, which says pre-loss condition, pre-storm condition, because that applies to every material that's on that property. Yeah, go ahead, Becca.
Windows.
What was the date on that?
I want to say it was in 2019, but it might have been in late 2018.
Nice.
Yeah, sorry, windows. Do windows need to be matched?
Yeah, that's where I put the most.
Yeah, and you guys have probably, have you guys been getting coverage for matching every now and then?
Yes.
Yeah, companies have different philosophies where there's no like actual matching law. You got it now.
MetLife.
You got it.
Well, so this profile of the window,
Yes.
how I could get my windows bought is broken barometers.
Yeah, the thing with windows, they're,
You see that?
It's a different appearance than other windows
That's
that are
case law.
available.
You can fight it with insurance company.
yeah, let's talk real quickly about windows, because they're kind of a unique beast, because they're interior and exterior. Well, most of what you deal with is exterior. The
That's what I mean.
windows get matched. In Minnesota, we had basically the same case. That was when I was saying came from my firm in 2014. The sort of custom and norms now have been fleshed out, so I can tell you what you're looking at. Windows are going to get paid for basically on line of sight. If I stand in the inside of the house and I can see all of the windows and there's a couple that need to be replaced,